Hi there, Stacy here with Limelight AZ. I have no idea what you're going to end up hearing in the background today. Um, it has been an absolutely nuts day. This is seriously, I mean, you guys have seen my videos. There's just noise in the background in most of my videos. And for the most part, I try to ignore it, but when it is just to the point where I can't even think to be able to speak, I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work. And I just shut the video off and then try it again later. I have started and stopped this video a good 8, 9 times. It has just been one heck of a day with extreme noise in the background. I did find out that my mom last night gave my son a peanut butter sandwich with regular gluten bread. My son, we figured out about 4 years ago, responds very favorably to being on a gluten-free diet. We figured that out when Jade, who was my then youngest, and I were diagnosed with celiac disease. So we took him off of it too because it was just easier for meal planning, and then discovered that it had a great positive effect on his Crazy Orion mode. That's the only way to describe it. Is we just call him Crazy Orion when he's got the gluten in his system. There's just no other way to explain it. And he just bounces off the walls. And unfortunately, he's 10 now, so he's quite a bit larger than he was last, when he was eating gluten on a regular basis. And so what ends up happening is he just starts bouncing off the walls and screeching and jumping and getting the dog all excited and then getting the other kids all excited. It's just a snowball effect. And so the day has just been pure chaos today. That is not the purpose of this video. But I'm just apologizing in advance. If it gets really loud, I'm going to try to pause it temporarily and then come back to it. But we shall see, because it has been a day of pure chaos. All right. So the purpose of the video, I wanted to talk to you about why I chose bee venom therapy, why I think that it will be the most effective route to take for dealing with the Lyme disease. And I wanted to also share a little bit of L.A. Lobel's story, although I will put links down in the bottom that will connect you with some better resources for learning about her story if you're interested in hearing it. Obviously, it'd be better to hear it from her, but I really think that her story is quite miraculous and interesting, and just wanted to share it in this video. So first of all, back up. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism when I was 8 years old. I now believe that was triggered by the Lyme disease that we didn't know about until just recently. I think it was the first of a long string of medical weird things for me over the last 3 decades. So I have been on and off medication for thyroid condition since I was 8, so about 30 years. And I have been on and off of it for a variety of reasons. The two biggest reasons were that in order to get a hold of thyroid medication, you must go to a doctor and have blood work done. So the thyroid medication is generally pretty inexpensive. Even way back then, it was like $10, $15. Now you can get it as cheap as $4 at Walmart. But the problem is you need to have a prescription for it. The pharmacy doesn't just hand it over to you. So to get a prescription, you have to go to the doctor, which either requires cash or requires insurance, neither of which I have most of the time. And then you also have to get blood work and then have that doctor prescribe the medication. The longest I have been able to get away with just having refills done is a year. So I end up going off my medication until I can do something about it again, and then get put back on my medication. So I've dealt with this yo-yo situation with my thyroid condition for years. At one point, I was off of my thyroid medication for 2 years. And at that point, my TSH was 177. The doctor that I saw for that was a year or two out from retiring. He was close to 80 years old. And he said he had never seen a TSH so high. So that kind of puts in perspective, like, what I've dealt with my TSH. He was quite surprised that I was even sitting there talking with him, much less in a coma. But when you're a single mom, which I was at the time, you do what you need to do. And so I just had to be functional. Well, now, fast forward to the end of 2016, and I am learning more and more about prophecy, and I'm learning more about what's happening around the world, and it's just getting absolutely crazy out there. And there is no doubt in my mind that we are close to seeing, or possibly even currently experiencing, the beginning of the tribulations. And I am not a pre-trib believer. I have scriptural reason for believing that. If anybody's interested, you can go ahead and send me your email. Just I don't know, does YouTube even offer private messaging anymore? I know they used to. I would be happy to supply you with some scripture references for why I believe that, but that's irrelevant to this video. So, but I don't believe in pre-trib rapture, and I do believe in rapture, but not pre-trib, probably not even mid-trib, but sometime close to the end of the tribulations. So here I am watching all of this chaos going on in the world, and I'm thinking, how am I supposed to function if I don't have access to medication and can't just go forage for it in the woods, to do something different? I mean, there's no natural alternatives to thyroid medication that is plant-based. You have to get it either from pig glands, or there's even cow glands, but it's jumping through hoops to get a hold of it. I would not take the pig glands because we eat what is considered clean. We biblically clean, so we don't eat pork, and we don't eat shellfish and other things that are found in Leviticus that say what we should or should not eat. And so even if I were able to get a hold of it through pig glands, I still wouldn't take it. So I'm like, God, you've got to fix me. We are getting closer and closer to this, and I can't be functional through the tribulations like this. And if I'm dependent on pharmaceutical medications, that's not a good situation. Okay, so anyways, I was thinking, how the heck am I going to get through the tribulations if I have to depend on a medication unless God heals me? And I pretty much challenged God to heal me or show me how to heal me. And so I think he chose the latter to show me how to heal myself. And I think that is through, first of all, knowing that it is the Lyme disease that is causing the thyroid issues. And secondly, bee venom. Interestingly, before I continue with the bee venom reasons why I chose it, after I'd already decided to choose bee venom, I discovered that several people that do the bee venom therapy actually end up going off of their thyroid medication. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal. So that turned out to be really interesting, and that just sort of confirmed for me that this was the right route to take. But the biggest reasons why I chose bee venom is, first of all, I think that we as humans think that we are quite smart. And when it comes to the healings of humans, if we think that we can outdo God, then we are in for it. We are just bound to make things worse. And I think our current medical system is proof of that. There are lots of companies and lots of people that have lots of money invested and make lots of money off of our medical system because of the medications. And I think that there are times when it's really quite important. And to have somebody who's knowledgeable in medical stuff, like for instance broken legs and heart surgeries and things like that. But I think that medicine is really kind of playing with fire. God gives us all of the medications we could possibly need. We just need to figure them out. And so I've always had that mindset, that we are provided with the things that will heal our bodies. God is the master healer, and that we cannot outdo him. He is the one that designed us. We need to go to him to fix us. However, with that said, I've always had that kind of mentality for a very long time. I mean, I've had 2 natural births. The last baby turned out to be a C-section. Again, a moment when I am really thankful for medical availability, because I don't think that my youngest would be here today if I had not had a C-section. Thankfully, God intervened and told me I needed to have a C-section, which I was adamant against after having had 2 natural births. But he intervened and just laid it hard on me that I needed to have a C-section, so I did it. Again, sorry, rabbit trails. But after having the C-section, I was off of pain medication in a week. I tapered myself off of it very, very quickly, a lot faster than most people typically would. I am not one to turn toward medicine to heal my body. So when I got diagnosed with Lyme disease, I automatically was hesitant to believe the antibiotics. But then after doing more research, finding out that people get put on antibiotic for 3 to 6 weeks initially, find out that they need longer, so then they go to a Lyme literate doctor who puts them on more antibiotics for another 2 to 3 years, typically. And then they figure out that either that is not working as well as they had hoped and are now having to go back on antibiotics or find something alternative, or it's starting to cause other problems. So then they end up turning to more natural leaning methods as a last resort. In my opinion, that should be a first resort, past prayer. So second resort, I guess. And so at that point, when I got diagnosed with Lyme, I figured out that people were just going down the same system multiple times. Of course, there were rare occasions where people did get healed from antibiotic or did get healed from the different natural protocols, but they were rare and far between. And I am highly suspect whether or not they actually did get better, or if it's just laying dormant for now. So I had initially planned on trying to do wow, that was loud. Sorry. I'm sorry. I initially had planned on doing some sort of natural protocol. So probably like the Cowden or Bruner protocol. It just didn't feel right. I went into it thinking, I don't know. I feel like something's missing. And a couple people had brought up the bee venom therapy to me, and I had already joined a group for bee venom therapy, but I wasn't paying any attention to what was happening in the group. So I finally, after a couple people mentioning it, I'm like, all right, I guess I should at least investigate it. And I started looking into it and started asking questions in that group as well as some of the other Lyme groups, like, how many different therapies have you done, and how long were you on antibiotic, and how long have you, which thing would be the best, how many doctors have you seen after diagnosis? And was discovering that people were going through these routines of the short-term antibiotic, long-term antibiotic, and then long-term different protocols for trying that were natural leaning. And that it was like the blind leading the blind. I mean, I love the Lyme community and I have learned a great deal from them, but it was honestly the blind leading the blind because nobody knows what is going to work on any one person. And so it was a lot of, well, I've done 5 different natural therapies and 2 different doctors using antibiotics, and it was just everybody was constantly in search of the next thing to do after having done the full protocols. And I'm like, I'm not happy with this. And everybody's saying you don't get cured from Lyme disease. You put it in remission. And I'm like, this is not good enough for me. I don't want this in remission. I want this cured. And then I started asking questions of the Bee Venom group and found out about Ellie's story, Ellie Lobel. And I'll put some links in the bottom that kind of go into more detail about her story and how she came up with the protocol and stuff like that. And a lady by the name of Nancy, I'm drawing a blank for what her last name is, but she apparently was quite well known within the Lyme community and was a pretty strong Lyme fighter for trying to get Lyme rights and stuff like that. And both of them were pretty much on their deathbeds prior to starting bee venom therapy. And had multiple organ failures, and they are now on the other side of the full protocol, so 2 to 3 years. I know that Ellie is hardly stinging anymore. Just occasionally when things pop up, she goes ahead and stings for them. And Nancy believes that she is no longer dealing with Lyme-related issues. She's dealing with issues related to some other health stuff going on in her life, or the long-term effects of damage that has been done to her body that she's still stinging for because she believes that it is helping. And so then there was a bunch of people that are close to the 2-year mark that are raving about this protocol, and just the fact that they have had a complete turnaround in health. They're still stinging, but they are doing so much better, and they fully believe in the protocol. And so what I discovered was that the people going into the bee venom therapy that get to the 2 to 3 year mark don't keep looking for other protocols. So that's enormous. Why? Because if they're not looking for other protocols, it must be working. I have also seen quite a few people that have gotten to somewhere around the 8-month mark. It tends to be a bigger time when people drop out, and right around the 1.5-year mark. So, but once they get past that, they just rave about what the bee venom therapy protocol has done for them. So I'm like, wow, this is huge. I want to be better, and I am not banking on the fact that this is going to cure me. However, I am banking on the fact that this will definitely put me in remission and give me a good potential for having it cured. So, the other thing is that, Ellie's story is so magnificent that it was just, to me, it just screams God. And how can you just ignore the weirdness of her story and not go, God is trying to hand us a gift here, and we need to pay attention. So, now what is Ellie's story? So Ellie Lobel is, from what we can tell, my husband and I have done quite a bit of searching on trying to find out who she is, how she came into the bee venom therapy. We've read several stories from different sources about it. So my paraphrase here is mixing all of these stories together. Keep in mind that some of this might not be true. The main points are all the same, but there's things like, for instance, that she was 18 when she had a PhD. I don't know in what degree, but became a scientist of some sort. So basically the girl's a genius that we've only seen located in one spot. So the information that I'm giving is what we have found about her, both Google and what is provided in the files section in the bee venom therapy group on Facebook. So basically, she was 18 when she got her PhD. an 18-year-old with a PhD screams extremely smart. And she was a scientist, but then sometime in her mid-20s, she got bit by a tick. So, oh, fantastic. That's a great opportunity to not just get bit by a tick, but then develop Lyme disease and some co-infections along with it. So from there, she lived for the next 15 years, becoming more and more ill, trying all the different protocols, probably going down the same route that I mentioned earlier, and just becoming more ill. She finally got so sick that she was in multiple organ failure, including a heart issue of some sort. She was given a lifespan of 3 to 4 months, had an end-of-life caretaker, and decided to move to California to spend her last days. 2 or 3 days after getting to California, her end-of-life caretaker and her decided to go for a stroll outdoors, and went outside. A bee comes up to Ellie, and she swats at the bee, and the next thing she knows is she's being attacked by killer bees. A whole swarm of them. And so she just, I mean, gosh, the odds of, first of all, having a scientist that was a genius, and then going from there, my husband's in the background, and then going from there and getting bit by a tick that had the infections that were going to make you severely ill to the point you're being put on your deathbed, and then getting swarmed by a whole bunch of killer bees and attacked. And then you discover that they make you feel better. And because of her scientific background, at least in my thoughts, she put 2 and 2 together and ran with it and started investigating bee venom along with healing Lyme, which she could hardly find anything on, and started doing different stinging methods with herself for 2.5 years, till she got to a point where she felt like she found a good protocol. And here we are now, where she's giving this information away for free to hundreds of thousands to millions of people to be able to get themselves healed for not a penny for herself, just so that she can be helpful to the Lyme community that isn't even acknowledged by the medical community. So to me, this screams God. I don't know her feelings on it. It was clear, no matter what her feelings on God is, it's clear that God picked this woman to do this with. And I know personally, I'm quite thankful. I can't imagine it was much fun to get stung by a whole bunch of bees all at one time and be on your deathbed and whatnot. But I am thankful that she is giving this information away for me to use, and is free and is accessible and makes it so that other people can do the same. And the other thing is that, I mean, like I said, she doesn't make a penny off of this. This screams legit to me. The stories you hear coming from the people in the bee venom therapy groups and people that have tried it, whether they've decided to continue with it or not, are accurate portrayals of what the bee venom is doing for them. So I have run across very few who said that they did not think that it was helping them. And those people dropped out fairly early. For the ones that did think that it was helping them, but then dropped out at like the 1.5 year mark, it was because of they believe histamine issues. And, you know, I can understand getting scared when you feel like your throat is closing up. I mean, with anaphylaxis being such a serious issue. But I am just praying that I will be able to work around those issues if they arise, and we'll be able to continue doing the bee venom, because the few people that have arrived on the other side are doing phenomenally better, are no longer on their deathbeds, and are pursuing their life the way that they want to pursue it. So it just made sense to do this particular therapy over and above the other therapies. So we shall see. I am supposed to be getting the bees tomorrow morning, and then from there we will be starting the bee venom therapy on Sunday. So we'll be doing videos on my first sting, my testing, and showing you these and what we're doing with them. But beyond that, it's going to be a long road, probably a very difficult road, but one that I'm very much so looking forward to. So I think that's the end of it. You going to say hi, honey?
Hi.
So anyways, have a good night.